So here we are set up in my Animate file. All right, I've got my cutout version of my puppet sitting here like so, with all of the different parts of the puppet broken up and set up into graphic symbols. All right, so you've got a graphic symbol for each part of the body. Okay, you can see them all listed in my library here. And I've also separated them out onto each layer, similar to the setup video that Nicole's put on Canvas. And lastly, we've also put the moving points of the symbols wherever the joints are needed. Okay, so if you want to move your point of your graphic symbol, select Q on your keyboard or use the free transform tool over here, and you can just click and drag it and move it around. So I sort of put mine again on the joints like the elbows, the shoulders, the upper legs, knees, and so on. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is similar to the walk cycle setup. Set up my key poses. So I've got my character here. I'm actually going to make it jump. All right, so this is my sort of silhouette version of myself. And the first thing, it's going to stand up just like it is now. Then it's going to crouch down, jump into the air, and fall back down and land. All right, so there's a few key poses or stances that we need to set up before we animate anything. All right, so after 1 second, I'm going to have my character crouch down. So what I'm going to do here is just click on the first 1 second frame there, and I can see the number 1 there. Hold down Shift and click on the very bottom, and that will select an entire line down. And then I can put in a new keyframe. Now I can do this by right-clicking, Insert Keyframe, or I can press F6 or function F6 on your keyboard, and it will do the same thing. Now this only works this well because we've got everything separated to different layers. So depending on your Animate setup, you might need to make sure that all your symbols are on different layers. Okay, and what I can then proceed to do now is set up how my character is going to move in the crouch position before it jumps. Okay, so I'm going to now go through the process of organizing how the legs move, how everything else comes together. Okay, so I'm actually going to have the legs rotate down a bit, and you might have a greater degree of flexibility in your puppet depending on how it was created or set up. All right, so you can see here I'm just beginning, I might hide some of these upper layers just for the moment, just beginning to set up exactly how the position of the legs would look in the crouch position and placing them like so. Move the body down. Okay, that's my neck there, move that down, turn the other layers back on, got my head here, and my upper arm and my lower arm. So again, it's just that process of setting everything up the way that we're going to use it. Okay, and it's much better to do this before you make a tween or animate anything. Okay, it's going to keep it much easier, much more simplified for yourselves when you get to the animation portion. Alright, so there you can see just between my first key pose frame and from 1 second afterwards how it's changed. Okay, I could even exaggerate that further if I wanted to. Move things down just a touch more. Okay, so just again, working out what exactly we want our animation poses to look like. Move the head down a touch, move the arms down. Alright, so I think I'm relatively happy with that. And again, just using Q on my keyboard, which is the keyboard shortcut for free transform, to select them there and rotate them into any position I need. Okay, I might actually move the head down just a touch lower. Alright, so there you can see one standing normal key pose, and the next key pose is squatting down ready to jump. And because it's going to be quite quick between that pose and into the air, I'm going to only make it around 1.5 seconds. I can always adjust this once it's been created. Put in a keyframe here, so 1.5 seconds or 37 frames. So again, right click, insert keyframe or F6 on your keyboard. And here I'm now going to set up the in the air moment or key pose of my puppet. So the first thing I want to do is select it all and just move it up into the air a little bit. Okay, so again, I'm just selecting it all, holding Shift and moving it up with the arrow keys there. And then again, just reposition your puppet. How do you want it to look when it's in the air? What's the position going to be like? Maybe I'll have my arms up. Oops. Like so. Just rotate it around. Okay, maybe I'll have one leg higher. This leg might go down a touch. Okay, so feel free to sort of experiment with how you want your puppet to move. There's no wrong way to do this. And I might even rotate everything just very slightly as well. Okay, just so that I have something like so in the air. Okay, now this will work, in varied ways depending on your animation and your movement. And you can always fine tune from there. All right, so here you have the first key pose of standing, crouch down, into the air. We need one more of it landing, which is going to be very similar to the key pose of our crouch here. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is, again, go through that process, put in a keyframe. This one's going to be at 45 seconds, or frames I should say. So 45 here, right click, insert keyframe, and then move everything back down again. Okay, now if you're not sure where your ground is, it helps to sometimes just put a line in for the ground layer. So I just made a new layer, click on the line tool, click and drag it across like so. And Command G will turn that into a group if you want it to be not editable. Okay, so that's why it looks green. That's just a little reference for myself of where the ground is. So I'm going to use the back of the heels as my ground line, lock that layer. And so when I'm bringing my character back down to its landing position, okay, I can see here a bit of reference for the ground. Okay, so just again, one by one, starting to set up the positions, rotating it as we go if we need. Rotate that one around. Body can go down a bit there too. Actually make them go in slightly. Okay, arms, head, all of that stuff. Okay, rotate anything you need to rotate. So like the upper arm. Move that down. And the head lastly, and I've forgotten the neck, so I've got to get that. Move that down too. Alright, and you might obviously tweak this as you go along. I'm probably going to do another frame when I start animating that is going down further than this to add some suspense before it stands back up. But I think I might make these arms go relatively down like so. Okay, just until we have a nice puppet set up like so. Okay, so landing position like this. And then I want it to end back in this position here. So what I'm actually going to do is to select all of these frames again, copy them, go along to here. I need to put in one last keyframe. So at 55 frames, I'm going to insert blank keyframe this time. And I'm going to paste, select each layer one at a time, go back and paste it in the same place. Now you can do that by just selecting one layer, select the one symbol, copy, so Command C, go back to your timeline, Command Shift V will paste it in the exact same position. Okay. Alternatively, select your layer, Command C or Edit Copy, Okay, go along to your last timeline here, edit, paste in place. Okay, so that does the same thing, and just because I want them to basically end up in the same position where they started, I'm just repeating this process. All right, so that just helps to ensure that you always have a smooth animation when it finishes. Command-Shift-V like so. Take the leg, Command-Shift-V. Left foot. Okay, right foot. Body, Command-Shift-V, and the neck. Copy, Command-Shift-V. Alright, so although the timing might not be perfect at this stage, here we do have the basic breakdown of my character. Okay, doing those simple movements. Alright, so you're just blocking it out first before you animate it. Now, the handy part of creating an animation like this with this puppet style setup using our keyframes is that we can tween, okay, or as the computer does, automatically animate the movement between our key frames or key poses here. Alright, so after my first position here, going down, alright, so what I'm going to do is just put in another set of keyframes, about 20 frames in. So from here to here it's going to crouch, but I'd like it to stand a little bit first. So I'm going to put in one more set of keyframes at the front here, insert keyframes like so, and then I'm going to add in a motion tween. And I'll just do it with the first layer here, sorry, a classic tween. I'll show you what it looks like. So select your keyframe, right click, and choose Create Classic Tween. Alright, and what you can see that's done is it's created a blue arrow on my timeline, and it's going from this keyframe position to this keyframe position. So you can see that the head there is automatically animating between the two positions. Alright, so you can actually do this with all of your layers in one go. Again, holding Shift, click and select them, right click, Create Classic Tween. And you'll see, because again we've got separate keyframes on separate layers for every part, they're all going to animate between these two positions automatically. Okay, so I've got that there. Now it's ready to jump into the air, so I'm going to again Shift select my keyframes. What I will do first is I want it to hold on this position before it jumps into the air, so I'm going to put in another set of keyframes, aiming for about the 28th frame here. Right click, insert keyframe, and now here I can add in my tween as well. So again, right clicking, insert or create classic tween. That's going to go from here up into the sky like so. Alright, now that might be too slow as the time plays back to it, but we'll tweak that and fix that up later. And then lastly, the last keyframe here is the landing position before we go back to normal. So I'm going to again tween this, Shift select all my layers, right click, create classic tween. That's going to go down and land again. And then the last one we have is returning back to normal. Alright, so again, hold this, Shift select, create classic tween, and it goes back to normal like so. Alright, so just having a look back at that animation movement now, you can see that it goes down, jumps into the air, and lands again. Simple as that. Alright, so you could obviously work with tweaking the timing here. Okay, I think it needs to be a bit quicker as it goes into the air and lands again, but it's a starting point for you to have a look at. Alright, so feel free to experiment with moving your puppet around, animating the timing, the position, and so on. Okay, and remember your principles of animation. It's going to hold on this lower part of the jump because again that's anticipation. Alright, before it makes the big jump into the air, we have anticipation. And lastly, if you want to adjust the timing of your keyframes, you can move them around. So you can hold down Shift, click on them, and actually drag these. And you'll see that makes it much quicker between this point and this point. But obviously it moves them around so there's more time here. If you don't want it to be as long and you need to remove some frames, hold down Shift, okay, and select and click and select a section of frames you want to remove. Right click and choose Remove Frames. Okay, better to do that than to delete your tween. You'll find it messes things up otherwise. Okay, so there we have it. A basic introduction to how you start to animate, set up your puppet. All right, just like so. Give it a go. I think you'll find it quite entertaining. Okay, thanks.